Welcome to the Smart Weight Loss Coaching Podcast. I'm Dr. Lisa Oldson, a board-certified weight loss medicine specialist and certified life coach. In this podcast, I'll share fresh insights and effective techniques for incorporating mindset, habit change, and proven science into your life. Are you ready to achieve sustainable weight loss, wellness, and longevity? Then let's jump in and lose weight the smart way. Hi, Bridget.
Hi, Lisa. I'm so thrilled to be here with you on your 100th episode.
Oh, thank you so much. So I just want to welcome everyone and thank you for listening. Bridget is a dear friend of mine, and today we're going to do a very different episode. This was suggested by my amazing podcast producer, Julia, who said, if anyone has been listening to all 100 episodes, they might enjoy the opportunity to get to know you on a little more personal level. So is there anyone that you know personally or professionally or both who might be able to interview you, not really about weight loss or longevity, but just about you? So I thought instantly of my dear friend, Bridget. I'm going to tell everyone a little bit about you, Bridget. So just hold tight. Bridget is the founder and CEO of the strategic advisory firm Female Factor, and she's a leading authority on women's economic impact. She is also the author of the groundbreaking business books, Why She Buys and Winning Her Business, both of which I have read and both of which are so amazing that I bought copies of this book and gave it to everyone I know, both of them. So really, you should check her books out, Why She Buys, and also Winning Her Business, the follow-up book. Bridget speaks all over the world on the power of women consumers. But of course, most importantly, she has been a very dear friend of mine for 25 years.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for that kind introduction. And I'm so delighted to be the one celebrating with you your 100th podcast episode. It is such a huge achievement. And it might be kind of fun, Lisa, to kick things off by sharing with everyone how we know each other, because people are often surprised to hear that we are good friends because we have an unlikely backstory. Lisa, would you like to do the honors of sharing our very unusual backstory?
Okay, way to jump in and hold my feet to the fire, Bridget. Here it is. Bridget is married to my ex-husband. And as you might imagine, we have so much in common.
We really do.
We really do. And we've known each other almost 25 years now. And I think we just have our own independent friendship, totally unrelated to the way we met.
We do.
Our families know each other. I know
We're
your
like
mom.
one big happy family.
My kids do call you Aunt Bridget.
And I love it.
That's so
it's a role I cherish. Yes. So we're really good, great friends for 25 years. And it's because you and your former husband had a very amicable parting and we're still friends.
Yeah.
And then when I came along, we all became friends. And now the four of us, you and your husband and me and my husband, we go out all the time and we're great friends. So
yes, well said. All right, now that we got the slightly awkward story out of the way, how we know each other, I don't know why I consider that awkward because it's actually kind of sweet. But let's jump in. What kind of questions do you have for me?
Well, Lisa, I think people would want to hear a little bit about your life. So imagine that this is a Wikipedia entry. And I'm just going to start off by asking you if you could tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you're living now. Tell us a little bit about the story of Lisa Oldson.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I will say for my career bio and a little bit about why I got interested in what I do for a living, which is helping people lose weight and live healthier longer. All of that is in episode 1 of the Smart Weight Loss Coaching Podcast. So if people just want that background, please go to episode 1 and you'll hear it there. But just a little bit about me. I grew up in a very modest suburb of Chicago called Schaumburg, a place that you and I also kind of share in common. I think you lived there for a hot second before I
Yeah,
met you.
Lisa, you and I had so many strange things in common that when we met, it was like it was destiny.
I think so. The universe brought us together.
It's true.
So I do not personally hold the key to the village of Schaumburg, something I think you were gifted by the former mayor,
It's
probably when
true.
you were doing some marketing for women or research on women for the township. But anyway, I grew up there. I went to school at University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I lived in Chicago for many years, and I have been since 1998 on staff at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, teaching at the medical school at Northwestern. I lived in a really fun area of Chicago back in the day before I had kids and moved to the suburbs and became a suburban mom.
But you do live in such a wonderful suburb, and it's
I
in an
do.
area where a lot of the 1980s movies from John Hughes were filmed. So it's very picturesque, all American sort of setting.
You are right. So I live in this beautiful small town right on Lake Michigan, north of Chicago. It's called Wilmette and it's beautiful. Sometimes you'll see, I'll post on social media pictures of Lake Michigan. My husband and I have a really lovely 1 mile or 1 hour walk. It's about 3.5 miles. We have a 1 hour walk that we do from our home down to the Baha'i Temple, along the beach, on the lakefront, up through the pretty neighborhoods and back home. It's such a pleasure living here.
That is so wonderful. And I love visiting you in your beautiful town. Now, one thing that you mentioned is all the years that you've been on staff at Northwestern. And I know for many of those years, you practice as a primary care physician before becoming board certified in obesity medicine and a weight loss specialist. And I have actually always been curious what inspired you to shift your focus to
Mhm.
helping people with weight loss?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, I felt when I was doing primary care, like I was doing an incredibly important job, and kudos to all of the people still in the trenches trying to help their patients with everything. For me, I always had this sense if I could help people with their weight, most of these problems I'm treating would just go away. If I could
Oh,
treat the
wow.
weight, I'd get rid of the diabetes, the high blood pressure, the high cholesterol, the arthritis, the foot pain, a lot of the depression and anxiety too, the sleep apnea, all of this stuff. Even things like dementia are now being linked to ultra processed foods and in some ways to excess weight. 13 different types of cancer, including postmenopausal breast cancer, are linked to excess weight. So I always had this feeling if I could simply get to the root cause, which is really hard to do when you are taking care of everything for each of your patients. And so by backing up and just addressing this one slice of the pie, that feels like an inappropriate,
Ironic reference.
an ironic reference. Every time I catch myself saying like the icing on the cake, the slice of the pie, I'm like,
Oh,
this
oh my
explains
gosh.
why I relate to the people I help so much because so many of my
And it
expressions are
makes you
quite
realize how much our language is filled with food references.
filled. It's so true. So anyway, that is how I got interested in it. And I talk about this in episode 1 of the podcast. I had some personal connections as well, things that my father experienced, things that my sister experienced, things that I myself experienced related to weight. And so I talk about those a little bit as well in that first episode, but I won't repeat them here.
Oh, well, that's a great story. And I never actually knew that story, Lisa. So I feel like I am learning about you as well as all of our listeners here. So now let's get a little bit more personal. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your hobbies and how you spend your time when you are not actively helping people with weight loss?
Yeah,
What are you
I would
doing?
love to. Thank you so much. All right. Well, one thing I like to do is I like to move. So I'm really not a person who will sit and watch TV. I'm not a person who just will sit. Sitting in general isn't really my thing. So most days I'm going for a walk, almost whatever the weather, not on icy or pouring rain, cold days, but cold doesn't bother me. Cold and wet is one of the few things that would stop me. So I'm out walking a lot. I love to walk in nature. Bridget, have you ever heard this expression, forest bathing?
Oh, yes. I love that expression.
I love it too. It's so wonderful. And it really nails that feeling you get, the peacefulness, the calm when you walk in the forest somewhere. And where we live, you're in Chicago, I'm just north of the city. It's not like we have a ton of forest space, but we can go to little treasure forest preserves that are around us and do some walking there. And you can feel immersed, even though you're not too far from a major road in the forest preserves. So that's one thing I love to do. And then other things I like to do. I love to dance and I take tango dancing. It's Argentinian tango, which is a little different than the kind you might see on Dancing with the Stars, which is more of a ballroom style. When you dance Argentine tango, it's a little more snuggly. It's a little more relaxed. It's not so formal and posed. I love it. I think it's really fun. I was just thinking I've been doing it for almost 10 years, but very on and off. Like I skipped a lot of time during COVID. So I'm a really excellent beginner tango dancer, maybe a moderately talented intermediate. I don't love being in an advanced class, but anyway, it's very fun. And then I also do something. This is kind of a hobby slash exercise routine called kitchen dancing. Actually, there's an inappropriate adjective to describe the kitchen dancing, but I won't really say it here. I'll just say sexy kitchen dancing. It's something like that. I feel I can say the word sexy on the podcast. So, sexy kitchen dancing, which believe me, when you're a middle-aged mom, is not all that sexy. It's more of a like comedy show dancing. But this is an exercise, moving the body routine that I invented when I lived in an apartment by myself in the city. And it wasn't really the safest area where this apartment was. And I didn't want to go out at night to a health club or an exercise class. So I would pull the blinds, crank the music, and just dance like crazy. In this tiny apartment, the only place to dance was in the kitchen. So hence
Lisa, I actually remember when you invented kitchen dancing, sexy kitchen dancing. It was a very inventive way to move in a small space. And you really proved to me that you don't have to go to a gym to exercise. You can just use what you've got, and you used your kitchen space. And that was pretty inventive.
Thank you. That's right. There's this exercise routine. It was originally developed by Johnson and Johnson. They made an app and they hired, I don't know, they hired exercise physiologists to invent this 7-minute exercise routine that would target all body parts that people could do anywhere with no equipment. It was a brilliant idea. And if people go on YouTube, if you go online, you'll find a million knockoffs of it. I mean, there are so many 7-minute exercises, and I don't even think the Johnson & Johnson app still exists. Like maybe some remnant of it can still be found on the internet, but I was looking for it recently and it seemed to have been disbanded. But anyway, when people say, "Oh, I'm traveling," or "I don't have a lot of space," I don't tell them about sexy kitchen dancing. I just refer them to the 7-minute workout, but maybe I should go back to the kitchen dancing concept for people because it's kind of fun. It's more fun.
It's pretty awesome. And Lisa, one thing that everybody loves about you is that you are such an open book. And so, being the open book that you are, I'm going to ask you, what is your most embarrassing memory?
That is such a good one. It's mean and it's good. So,
That's me.
all right. Thanks a lot, girl.
Reach
Okay, I
back
have
into
this.
the archives. What do you got?
Okay. I mean, there are so many to choose from. That's the problem. When you asked, I had this image pop into my mind of myself when I was commuting to downtown Chicago. And I used to take the train and I'd get out at the train station called Ogilvy Transportation Center. And I would walk across this very bustling, crowded intersection to go in the direction of the office. And so, anyway, it was a particularly brutal, cold day. And I was bundled up in one of those really embarrassing but necessary puffy long coats. It's more like a sleeping bag that you wear in the winter in Chicago. So I'm wearing one of these really ugly, super puffy coats, and I'm walking briskly with purpose to get to work. And I must have stepped on some black ice because I went flying, and it was like in slow motion when you see in the cartoons someone slips on a banana peel and they fly up in the air, and then they're hovering horizontally in the air for a moment, and then plop, they fall down to the ground. I did that, and I landed. I mean, it was like the opposite of a belly dive, jumping off the pool diving board. You know, it was just on my back. I was totally flat, lying there, staring up at the sky.
Ugh.
And I remember for a hot second thinking, this might be embarrassing to some people, but I am so astonished slash grateful that I know I did not hit my head. I did not land on my wrist or my elbow or my hip. Like nothing was broken. Nothing even hurt. Nothing was bruised. I'm just lying in the middle of a street in Chicago staring up at the sky. And by the way, no one stopped, which was so
Nobody
crazy.
stopped.
Nobody stopped. It's very un-Midwestern of the people, but I think everyone was getting off the train, racing to work. And maybe they could see it. I mean, I must have been laughing a little bit. They could probably see I was okay. But I'm going to say that was an embarrassing moment.
Oh, that sounds excruciating, but I'm so glad you weren't hurt. And I love that your first assessment was like your physician assessment of yourself. Nothing is broken. Everything is fine. That
Do I know
allowed you to laugh about it.
right? Do I know the date? Do I know who the president is? Do I know my last name, my phone number? That's so funny.
Well, that was a great story. So now I've got another question for you.
Bring it.
What would you change about yourself if you could?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, I know just what I'd like to say. But first, I want to mention if I asked this question in my group program, I bet everyone would think immediately about a body part that they want to change. And it's not that I'm so in love with my body that I can't think of something I'd change also. But really, the thing that popped in my mind first is that I'd like to be more sporty. So I already told you I'm really active. I mean, I go hiking, biking, I do yoga, I do weightlifting once a week at least. In the summer, I go kayaking. I'm very active, but I wouldn't call myself sporty or athletic necessarily. So if I could change anything about myself, I would not duck when someone throws a ball in my direction. And even other things, like if my husband throws a wadded up sock at me, I would like to be able to just catch it and throw it back. So I think that's it. I would be able to catch and throw things with ease, effortlessly.
So if you were one of the Spice Girls, you would not have been Sporty Spice. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. I would definitely not be Sporty Spice. I don't know what all the other choices are, or I would tell you which one I would be instead, but
Well, Lisa, one thing that is so wonderful that I treasure in you as a friend is that you are always so full of candor. So now I'm going to ask you a question that's kind of deep, and knowing you, you will answer this with candor. And the question is this: what is your biggest failure?
oh, that is a good one. Thank you for asking, Bridget. To me, failure is not trying. You know, if there's something I want to do and I give up before I even start, or I think, it's too hard, or I don't think I could do that. That to me is the failure. I don't actually think it's a failure when I try something and I'm not good at it. I'll give you an example. A couple of summers ago, I took this rowing class and it was in one of those long boats where you might have 8 or 10 women. I should know how many women fit in a boat. Maybe that's why this is part of my failure story. But anyway, a lot of women fit in this boat and we all row in unison. And then there's someone in the front of the boat calling out instructions to each of us, like, number 3, do this or that, go starboard. I don't remember what all the things were. We each had a number. So, anyway, I took this class for the summer session and I was kind of at it. I didn't see that as a failure. I'm all in to be a beginner for anything new. To me, the failure is not trying, but if I try something and it's not, I'm not amazing at it, I'll just keep practicing if I can see that I'm going to enjoy it. That's why I'm always practicing tango. I can see that's something that will, in the beginning, I could see it would eventually get fun to do. It wasn't fun, maybe for the first year, but I didn't consider that a failure, that I was really uncoordinated and stepping on people's feet and that sort of thing. With this rowing thing, I was not great at it. I ended up deciding I don't actually think this seems like that much fun. I thought I would love it because it was out in nature, but it really wasn't that much fun for me. So I didn't do it again. That also was not a failure. I love trying new things, being willing to be a beginner, sitting with the discomfort of not being great at it. I'm not a perfectionist with myself. Yeah. So failure is wanting to do something and not doing it, not trying.
You brought up something that I've always admired about you so much, and that is you are always willing to be that beginner. You're always willing to try things. And I think this podcast is an example. I remember when you told me, I'm thinking of starting a podcast. I said, You are? How do you do that? And you were like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. And here we are,
Oh,
100 episodes later. So it's a testament to your sense of adventure, your willingness to be a beginner. And I think that that is very inspiring.
oh, thank you so much. Now I feel bad that I didn't give like a real failure answer. I just thought of something else. I think I told you what I think about failure. I want to share an actual failure though. I have a fail that's been kind of heavy on my mind.
Oh,
And here the winter holidays just came and went. We're emerging into spring. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, I blew it again. So I'm going to tell you this. One of my biggest failures is that I let go of a friendship. Nothing happened. This is a dear old friend from medical school, not your husband. I'm still friends with him. But this was someone that I lived with for a year, someone who was a very good friend. Our names were next to one another alphabetically. So she and I were always assigned to do things together. And after medical school and residency, we really went our separate ways and got busy, started our jobs, had kids. Life was just busy. But she always sent me a Christmas card, sometimes with a very detailed letter. And over the years, I would open that Christmas card and I would think, that's so sweet. I love her so much. It's wonderful to see her beautiful family. And then I wouldn't send a card. I mean, it wasn't personal to her. I'm not very good at sending holiday cards. So I really actually never send a holiday card to anybody, which maybe is another type of failure, but I don't beat myself up for that. I just think there are other ways I can connect with people that I'm better at, that I enjoy more. But I would love to have been sending her a Christmas card back or picking up the phone and talking to her. So I feel like after this podcast, now that this popped in my head when you asked about failure, I think I really failed at staying in touch with this person who's important to me. So, Erna Obenza, if you're listening, I'm coming for you, girl. I'm going to bring 20 years of Christmas cards that I owe you.
you're going to have one heck of a catch up session with Erna when you get together.
No kidding. That's so true. I'm going to do it. I will do it.
That's a great story. And I think that's relatable for all of us. I know I felt a twinge in my own heart when you were telling your story, thinking about friendships that I haven't been tending to over the years as much as I want to be and should be. So you're inspiring me to do that.
I feel like, Bridget, this is something that the science is really becoming increasingly clear about the value of social connections, social connectedness, and also the harms of loneliness and isolation. And so it's funny that there's something about my scientific brain. As soon as I started reading about social connections related to longevity, related to happiness, related to better health outcomes, all of a sudden I was like, what? Oh my gosh, let me pull out my list of friendships I'd like to tend to more and family relationships I'd like to tend to more. And I think that comes with age also. We recognize time is short. Let's really put in the effort. So, yeah.
Well, that is the perfect lead in, Lisa, to my next question for you. Lisa, you are a mother, you're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a wife, and you play so many roles. What do you think has been your biggest and best life lesson so far?
All right. There is a businesswoman. Her name is Marie Forleo. She is fantastic. And she has a very high energy podcast on business. And she wrote a book called Everything is Figure Outable. And I don't remember if I was using that that word. I don't know if it's really a word, a joking word, figure outable before that. I feel like it's been part of my vernacular for as long as I can remember. But I think I come from a long line of women who believe that if there's something that needs to get done, we're going to figure it out. We can do it. We might not know how, but this is figure outable. So I know I could trace this back to my great grandmother who had 12 kids and lived on a farm in South Dakota. So she wasn't just hopping over to the Walgreens when someone had a cough. She was doing stitches at their kitchen table. She did anything that anyone needed. They were in a very rural area. I'm sure she did, I would imagine she did a lot of education. She did, of course, some help around the farm. She cooked. She did it all. And she trusted in her ability to figure things out. My grandmother also, when my mom was a child, my grandmother took four little children with her on an ocean liner to Japan, where my grandfather was stationed. Four little ones. I think the youngest was a baby, all by herself. No one had smartphones. You were like writing a letter saying we're coming at this time and hoping someone would meet you. It was very complicated. And so my grandmother could figure anything out, and my mom. So I feel like I come by it honestly. I didn't pop out with some, brilliant idea that I could figure everything out. But I have had the good fortune to grow up around a lot of resourceful women who don't think they know everything. They just think they can figure out whatever needs to be figured out. And I'll give you an example of this. When I was in college, I was working. I don't know if you know this. No, I think you do. I worked at an IHOP one summer as a waitress, the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. I still remember the menu. And I applied for a job there because it was the only restaurant in very short walking distance to my apartment that summer. So I knew I could walk there in the dark pretty quickly and safely. So one week at my summer apartment, in between IHOP shifts, I started to get really sick. I was absolutely wiped. I can't remember what I had, probably some terrible viral gastroenteritis or salmonella or something. But I was so sick that my mother actually drove down to U of I to help me. And I remember so clearly, like it was yesterday. I was taking out this pair of earrings and they were very special to me. And I was a little shaky and I dropped them down the sink. I dropped one of the earrings down the sink. And my mother was like, "It's okay, honey, just go back to bed. I'll take care of it." I remember thinking to myself, what does that even mean? She'll take care of it. But, okay, I was too tired to even think about it. So I just went to bed. The next day, my mom hands me the earring. And she said, "Oh, I just, borrowed some tools from a neighbor of yours and took apart the sink, the plumbing under the cabinet of the sink, and found the earring and reassembled all the plumbing. So here's your earring." I mean, that's the everything is figure outable spirit. So I think that's my best lesson in life is just to believe that you can figure things out and be willing to try and not feel like you have to be perfect at everything that you try. That's it.
Oh my gosh, what a great story. You come from a long line of remarkable women.
I think so.
That's pretty awesome. Well, I'm going to turn the tables on you a little bit right now because I know when you are working with your groups, you are talking a lot and hearing a lot from people about how they feel about their lifestyles and how they feel about their bodies. And so I'd like to ask you some of these questions and go a little deeper. Do you feel totally confident and comfortable in your body? I mean, you totally come across and always have as brimming with confidence. But when it's just you alone with the mirror and the scale in the bathroom, how do you feel about yourself?
That's a great question. I think as women in America, we are socialized that we can never be thin enough, never be fit enough, never be beautiful enough. And I just believe there will always be someone thinner, prettier, stronger, faster, smarter, wealthier, a better mother. I don't know. Like, I just feel like there's not much to be gained by compare and despair. So that's one thing that I believe to my core. So I don't have any drama comparing myself to other people, even for things about myself that I don't consider to be my strengths. But coming back to, okay, how do you feel naked in the bathroom? If you look in a mirror, step on the scale, or put on a bikini, maybe is another example. Eh, I'm 57 and I have a decent body for 57. That's how I look at it. I'd rather be alive at 57, still working on it, doing the best I can, and not critiquing myself. I just don't engage in that. I see nothing to be gained by holding my arm up and, jiggling the the skin and fat where my triceps are. I mean, my mom, who is 78 years old, and I just said a couple of episodes ago, she just finished what might be her last half marathon. And it was on a sleeting, cold, windy, miserable day. She did it. It was absolutely unbelievable. And she is an athlete. She can do so many push ups and not the kind I do on my knees, like real full body plank shaped push ups. But she also, would tell you if you ask, well, yeah, I'm a little thicker around the middle and I have this stuff hanging from my arms if I hold my arms up and wave. I just think let's embrace who we are. We're not all supermodels. I love my body enough. It's good enough. And it's helping to carry me where I want to go. So, yeah, am I always striving? I am striving. I am striving to be stronger and more fit. I'm striving not to gain weight. I'm striving to accept the changes in my body with age gracefully. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty good. I'm not saying I turn the spotlight on myself. I dim the lights a little bit maybe in the bathroom, but I'm good.
You know what, Lisa, I love your answer and it makes me want to print "I love my body enough" on a poster or a t-shirt because I love that. I think it's such a great realistic sentiment. Like, I love it. Enough. Okay, maybe it's not perfect, but gets me where I'm going.
Yeah, I
My
really
vehicle to transverse this earth.
yes. It's funny. There are a lot of things where you wouldn't want that to be your slogan, like in your marriage, with your children. with your job. Children, I love you enough. No, that's not where we hope to land. But I think for our bodies, that's a pretty good place.
Well, speaking of bodies and being your friend, going out with you socially quite a bit, I have to ask you, how do people react when they hear what you do for a living, particularly if they meet you at a place where food is being served, maybe at a restaurant or a party? I mean, do people, when they ask you what you do and you tell them, do they freeze up or how do they react?
There's an interesting difference between the way men and women respond to finding out what I do for a living. The men will often make a joke. They'll pat their tummy and they'll say something like, "Oh, I could use a little help." And sometimes they'll ask a real question like, "All right, can you give me one tip for how I can lose some weight or three tips to get in shape or something like that?" And so they seem very comfortable talking about it. Women will sometimes freeze up. They'll look at what's in their plate on their plate, or they'll look at what's in their grocery cart, or they'll think about what they have in their hand or what they just ate in front of me. And I feel bad about that because I never want people to be self-conscious. So it's funny, I do catch myself being a little more flexible with what I eat or drink in front of other people. So in order to help them feel more comfortable. Or sometimes I'll even say, for example, in November, I hosted a women's wellness retreat in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And the first night we all went to this wonderful restaurant and I stood up and I was kind of clinking on my water glass to get everyone's attention. And then I welcomed everyone. And I led with something like, everyone should feel free to eat like a normal person. No one's judging you. I'm not judging you. I don't care what you're eating. I'm interested in what I'm eating. If you want to eat bread, have bread. If you want to have pasta, order the pasta. If you want to split a dessert with the person sitting next to you, do that. I mean, have what you want. And we all are coming to this meal from a different place. Some of us are coming from a place of celebration. I'm on a weekend retreat. It's a holiday, it's a vacation, it's a chance to unwind. And as part of that, they might want to splurge a little. Maybe they'll have a glass or two of wine. Maybe they'll have dessert or something like that. Other people are thinking of it as this is a place where I'm going to get in touch with my healthiest self. I'm going to be inspired by all of the conversation about living healthier longer. And I'm going to see where that will carry me. And if that will help me to be less interested in ordering dessert, I'm going to focus on the people I'm with and the conversations I'm having and less so on the food. But I want to put people at ease and I try to, but I am sure there is some amount of self-consciousness that cannot be avoided.
Well, Lisa, I can say, having dined with you so many times, you are so non judgmental. You make it so comfortable for anybody who's dining with you because you have such high EQ. It's like you anticipate that people might be feeling that. So you immediately put your dining companions at ease. And so
Oh,
let me tell you, as your friend, I appreciate that very much.
thank you, Bridget. That's so sweet. And speaking of that, I feel like, oh, now we have to plan going out to dinner together. You've got
Oh,
me
we
thinking.
certainly do. Yes.
That's a wrap for today. We're going to pause here and save the second half of this interview for a future podcast. It's so kind of you to listen in and get to know me a little better. Thank you for that. I'd love to connect and get to know you too. So feel free to head over to smartweightlosscoaching.com and contact us. In fact, your NBA today, your next best action might be to sign up for our free newsletter filled with actionable content to help you lose weight, live healthier longer, and find that kinder inner voice to inspire new healthy habits. Or maybe you'd like to submit a suggestion for a future podcast topic. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like more support during your smart weight loss journey, check out our group coaching program at smartweightlosscoaching.com. Until next time, stay well and stay smart.